Welcome back to more Portal 2! We're nearing the end of this, bitch! Sorry, my language.
Oh man! We're getting into it now.
You baby! This is after hours Portal 2, baby. Time.
This is such a fun scene.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Film the skeletons shook him out.
You're
So now we're in GLaDOS' chamber.
It's coming a little,
Shit!
crap! Shit! Oh god!
It just keeps going. It's just...
And
There,
we
good as
go.
new.
To be honest, you can't even tell, can you? Seamlessly.
Resume testing.
There's always a weird sound inside these.
I would be so freaked if I was like in this place for real. You just look down and it's just void.
Oh god, I would say I would shit myself, but if not, shit would just follow me, so it doesn't do me any good.
Also, I wondered why it's just void underneath.
That,
You know, because when you come up from the old aperture, it's on like stilts, like the facility is.
yeah.
So, I've always wondered why there's like a nothingness underneath.
Does draw distance.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what lies below. I mean, obviously we know about the salt mine.
World has an essence of draw distance, although I think it's under a different scientific basis in that the draw distance of the real world is based on the curvature of the Earth, in that your eyes can only see so far before it starts to become out of view.
Yes.
So if you took like an empty field, you'd only see so far because eventually you just couldn't see further because.
Well, you'll see that whole field unless it's like 50 miles.
No, yeah, I'm saying there's a point though.
Oh yeah, there is.
The Earth
If you could just avoid smashing
rounding, but you can't notice the rounding, like the curve. You could just notice the not being able to see past it, which is
Yeah.
Here we go.
But that's your real world equivalent of draw distance.
Now, if they would have engineered this building that we're in here to account for world curvature, like if it's that fucking huge, holy shit.
That's the code for that. Like maybe the Oculus Rift can do that kind of thing.
Oh no, well, I mean, like
Dude, can you imagine the code? They required to emulate the curvature of the Earth as draw distance.
that would be impressive.
So that last
No,
match
I'm thinking
was
like this building,
seriously
if
disappointing.
aperture science was real, and like thinking about this building, and if you were looking down like that, it's like holy shit. The implications.
If aperture was real, God, it's help us.
Yeah, there are already enough terrifying thoughts that follow that statement.
Well,
And by terrifying, I mean fantastic.
lack of parents.
You are adopted and that's terrible.
This current.
Purposely making us just say
But
what?
some of my best friends actually are orphans.
For the record, you are adopted, and that's terrible.
Oh, and that's terrible.
I am not a
Oh, I'm glad it's sticking up for us. She's our buddy.
Just do the test.
I have a better idea, Wheatley. Why don't you say hi to my little friend?
Okay, this is getting
Oh, so that's
tiresome.
how you break that one. Nice.
I'm surprised you haven't got something better to do, to be honest.
See you later.
I know
You
I
served your
know,
purpose.
but,
Okay,
you've
so
proven that you can break
just had to
through.
do
You've proven
research
well
on it.
done. Thanks,
Standing on a
well
flat
done.
plane,
Back to
2.9
you,
miles
this
until you
clever,
can see
all
the
this
horizon.
smashy smash.
Ah.
And I'm right though. It's because the Earth starts to curve, and
Well,
that-
yes.
you just can't see. But it's kind of an interesting phenomenon in that you can't really see the Earth itself. Like you won't see the ground moving downwards. You'll just, or at least it won't look as apparent. Like,
No, it
it
eventually
looks
just
like
drops
that's
off.
what you're seeing, but that's the effect that you will see, and that's the cause of
The
it.
world is square.
Because I always thought that, I don't know if anyone else has that, but like when you're in like a city and you just sometimes wonder like, what's at the top? How many buildings could I see before like I couldn't see anymore? How far could I see, right? And it's just like on an empty plane, it's kind of like just like you just see feel. But like in a building is where I really wanted like, how far in the city could I see? If I had the view to see before I couldn't see no more buildings and stuff.
Well, apparently, if you are on the tallest building, I guess it would be called the Burj Khalifa, in
yes.
Dubai, you can see a total of 69 miles.
Damn.
Nice. I can see my house from there.
Let's see. For miles and miles. That's impressive.
I can see for miles and miles. I can see for miles and miles.
So, Justin, I warned you
Is
about
that a
this.
Canadian song?
Ah. If it was a Canadian
Man.
band.
Just reading,
You don't know the Who?
so not a moron.
Who?
I do know the Who.
That's the Who, baby.
Machiavelli. Do not know what
Guess I
all
need
the
to
fuss is
listen
about.
more Who.
Understood. Have you read that
It was
one?
Pete Townsend said that was his last, like, real big masterpiece of this day, like, that song, if I recall correctly.
I want to say that I think John Entwistle is the greatest bassist of all time.
He was, but now he's dead.
He is so good that you
So
can actually
morbid.
there are very few bands where you can listen to the bass, and if there were no other music, drums or anything, just a bass, you would say, not only is that great, that's the music in itself. Like his music, I don't know, he's so good. Usually the bass is just an accompanying beat, but he makes the bass almost into like a main portion.
He does. He makes it
the
its own
bass-
instrument.
How he uses it. It's hard to explain. It's just listen to John Entwistle on bass. It's crazy.
He's damn good. He was a pioneer. And there was a lot of really... And, well, I mean, that whole band is just composed of excellent
Now,
musicians.
speaking of Canadians, the band Rush, which was just recently inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Fucking finally!
Yeah,
About time.
their drummer,
Yeah.
Neil
Pert.
Peart? Okay, Neil Peart. He's known as one of the greatest drummers of all time, and people took lessons from this guy, and he's just people learn so much from this guy. So another thing, go Canada.
Yeah, Rush is...
Yeah, I love Rush.
You know what's kind of funny? The United States, Britain has the Who, Canada has the Guess Who. There is no Who equivalent for America.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
I don't know, it's just kind of funny.
Yeah. Of course, the Guess Who wrote American Woman, which was all about how we keep stealing Canada shit.
Actually, I think I'm pretty sure it wasn't American Woman about the nastiness of women in America. It was a slight on American women, wasn't it?
It was more of a metaphorical slight towards the fact that we keep stealing Canada's shit.
Don't mind me.
Oh,
Just
okay,
moving the
that's
old
true, I
test chamber a little bit
From what I
closer
understand.
To me.
You do, although you just steal from everybody. If you look at American television, 95% of American television is stolen content. We work for American television. Whether it's a sitcom, a reality... 100% of American reality shows and game shows, more or less, is not American by nature. And even sitcoms and other stuff, there's no category of American television that has not been taken. Like The Odd Couple The Odd Couple and The Office and so many other things.
No one ever said we are creative. We're just
I know.
we're just good at stealing other people's stuff.
That the majority of American audience truly believe, without questioning it, that most of their content is born in their own country. I think Americans watch here's a prime example. I bet you ask any American about The Apprentice, they will think it's an American show.
Well, I don't know what...
It's a UK show.
Was it called The Apprentice, or did it have an...
Oh yeah, it was called The Apprentice.
Oh, okay.
So there's Dragon's Den, which is also known as Shark Tank in America.
Yep.
Here's one they stole from Canada. It's called Canada's Worst Driver.
Is that even a thing in Canada? Are there bad drivers in Canada?
Yes, you solved it, but I'm wondering...
Yeah, Canada. Oh, there are some bad drivers in Canada.
I did see a funny thing about Canada the other day. I saw a nice little image. It wasn't an infographic. It was from a TV show, and it's more stills. And they were asking a person from New York and then a person from Vancouver about banks. They're like, when I say bank, or when I say a bank officer, what do you think? And the guy from New York's like, oh, I think it's just a complete rat bastard, a guy trying to cheat me out of my money. And then you turn to the guy from Vancouver, and he's like, my friend.
No, it's really true, because here's the thing. In American banks, there really is more or less no such thing as a known bank company national-wide and stuff. They're all statewide, right? So you have 100 to 1,000 different banks.
Oh yeah.
All not as personal, and with a lot of crime, you have a lot less, personalized service in which they're behind booths and glass and shit. In Canada, you have Royal Bank of Canada, Scotia Bank, CIBC, TD Canada Trust, and then BMO, Bank of Montreal. There's also one called HBC, but the five I just named are the big five in Canada. And those are, if you go anywhere in Canada, those are the five you'll see. You could I'm willing to bet you may have even seen one of those five banks I mentioned in your cities, where you live or anyone else lives, because they're actually international too, some of them.
HBC?
HBC is, but the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, is an international bank, so there should be branches in America too. But the point is, those banks are the banks in Canada. We don't have too much of this individual, random banks. So the thing is, you have, plus they're not as big, right? With America, you have millions and millions of dollars in each bank because there's individuals so many times. In Canada, RBC has 80 locations in Canada, or 1,000, whatever. You can spread your money, right? So the crime is less, and so the tellers are just behind a counter. You know, I like to take out some money. Here's a teller behind a counter. You got business. There's another person. They're just behind counters, and they have their own offices. They just walk in. It's so much more personal.
It sounds like it is, and it sounds like I'd have a more enjoyable time.
Yeah, like people in banks are nice in Canada. Like, banks are nice in Canada.
Oh, good. Don't come to America. It's horrible.
Yeah. And for our American audience, you just learned about the different banks in Canada.
Yes, they did.
And I'm sure some people are like, "How dare you make me learn?"
I know.
Request
I came here to watch video games. I came here to
it.
watch Portals making, not learning.
Learning, doing.
Learning about portals.
That's...
Well, in fact, I was hearing not too long ago something about Valve like wanting to get into like kind of the educational sector using some of the physics that they introduced in Portal and trying to teach some of those lessons about.
Oh, I bet. Gabe's
Physics and motion.
all about education.
Oh man, it's so fantastic.
Apparently does at least, I think he's like up to 2 to 3 conferences per week now.
Holy shit.
The last I read, yeah.
What does he educate on? Like video game design, video game theory, technology?
Yeah, he does theory, and then he does more like concepts and like what he got him into
how
it.
to like work with your companies and stuff. Your business.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, my fanboy is showing that.
My uncle just got a new job where he's
awesome.
being like a spokesperson for companies, where he's showing like how to increase your efficiency and stuff like that.
Was that your dog, Alex?
That was me,
actually me.
What?
I get really excited.
Oh, he took my joke.
I got it before you, dude. I'm claiming that shit.
I concede.
I like how you just fired portals all around until you finally found the button.
It's called by sonar. Like bats.
Have you ever seen this video? It was of this guy. It's very sad, actually. Afterwards, there's this kid, this 14-year-old black kid who was blind, and he learned how to see almost as well as anyone else through the use of sonar or not sonar, echolocation. That's where you're gonna go, right? And,
I've heard
it's
about that.
almost like a bat, right? And there's a video biography on it. I kind of have to say that it's kind of sad because he had cancer very, very young, and it was removed. He was left blind, but then he was actually kind of like he'd become dependent on echolocation. It was very interesting. There was a thing where they tried to get him to not solely depend on it and use a cane and not see the cane as a crutch or like as negative. And there was a man who was like in his 50s who had also done the same thing, used echolocation, and it was interesting how many more people there were like that, right? And this guy was teaching him, but the story didn't end well because like his cancer resurfaced, right? And I thought that's so sucky. Like you worked so hard, right, to like compensate and like that's the thing that always used to be really like freaky about cancer. Is like you get cancer, that's it. Like you get rid of it, 30 years from now it could just come back, you know.
Well, I don't know about 30 years.
I feel like once it's there, it's like always there.
Not necessarily.
But let's go on a happier note and go back to Portal.
Yes. Cancer sucks. Portal does
Portal
not.
good.
But I wouldn't mind giving Wheatley some cancer.
We're going.
Robot cancer. Robancer. I did like the tour guide thing. It's like if you look to your left, there's the thing is if you look to the right, oh god, what?
Yeah.
Oh, we have not heard the last of Willie Rob Norton, by the way. We will see him again.
I don't remember who that is.
Remember the voice at the beginning of the game? That was the loudest or anyone else. We named him Willie Rob Norton.
About how shitty my memory is.
Come on, if we're gonna make some cannons in this game, you gotta remember them.
The only good kind of cannon.
I mean, Brain Scratch named their companion cube Biffalo the Third. If we're gonna come up with our own cannons for character names, we gotta remember what they are.
To be fair, companion cube has this personality of his or her own that I cannot define because I don't know what it is. But still,
Yes, it doesn't. It has no gender.
yes,
But it is
evolves beyond it.
Sensorian.
I remember playing this on my old computer, and this is when my video card started tearing up. It was
Oh,
like, I
shit,
don't
really?
know what you're doing right now. Please stop.
Liquid, how do you what? Oh god, why?
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know why it is that sometimes when I use the orange gel, it misses a spot.
Actually, I think was this the room that you could see one of the
One of them.
co-op robots in?
I think you're right.
I think when you entered, if you look to the right.
I heard
Yeah.
about them being in one of the rooms, though. I do remember hearing about that.
I can't remember if it's this
I
one or
guess
if
there's an
it's
Easter egg I missed. I never seen that, so.
I'm trying to remember which room it was, but Justin, you're right. It's coming up if it isn't this room.
Yeah. I faintly remember being either this room or when you jump across. I think he's like running down as like
Yeah.
as like in the background.
In fact, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think you're right. I think it is this room.
If I knew about it and showed it, I don't even remember.
Because it would be it would be that little area out there. Because there's a catwalk that stands
Yes.
across.
You can and you just briefly can see him running.
Yeah. Because he doesn't. He's not there for long.
Do you have to go over there, or can you do it when you're in the?
It's like a trigger. Like it triggers when you jump.
Yeah.
Like right
something
here, you mean?
like that.
I think it's when the wall's breaking.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because there's a catwalk that he runs across, and it falls.
Well, so that has to be like when you enter the room
You're
then.
going to love it.
Yes.
So yeah.
To death.
Oh well, now you guys know.
Love it.
See? We're all
Blue screen of death.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Alright,
It's a good one, yeah.
Wheatley's not controlling this facility very well.
What I'm saying there, but
What's the worst that could happen?
Oh, Wheatley, you're so clever.